Chris from MrBeast finally talked about his transphobic comments that the internet has been trying to cancel him for, but the situation isn't over yet. See, since Chris announced that he was on hormone replacement therapy the other day, the internet has basically been preying on his downfall, bringing up old clips of him actually being transphobic, and he hasn't spoken on them until now. See, Chris took to Snapchat the other day replying to a Q&A question that asked if he felt the same way he does now than when he made the skits with the attack helicopter. Chris responded saying, quote, "I was always hiding in my room dressed up and doing makeup. I was deep in the closet way before you even knew who I was or before I know who I was, lol." Followed by, quote, "Those times are honestly such fond memories in my heart. The exploration and experiences trans people have aren't universal, but a lot of trans people said they felt the same." This is of course in reference to a deleted MrBeast video titled, quote, "Actually identify as an attack helicopter," and although Chris did play a main role in it, it seems like he may have been making these jokes to hide his true self. But this wouldn't be the only thing that Chris spoke out on, as he also addressed what's going on with his son. Because in a separate post, Chris would announce that his son Tucker is, quote, "allowed to call me anything he wants, even my first name. I genuinely don't care what he calls me." And while this seems like Chris is simply just being a good parent, haters on the internet are somehow still criticizing him for this. Because in a different post, Chris would show Tucker wearing high heels, and people are saying that Chris is forcing his beliefs onto his child. This is because Chris publicly announced a couple months ago that he was divorcing his wife, so haters are claiming that it's not like he went to put his mom's shoes on, but instead is being influenced by Chris. Chris would defend himself multiple times saying, quote, "I'll be a great influence in his life. As a father figure for Tucker, I don't know, maybe I'll meet the right guy one day. Gotta be a stud to wife me up though, lol." And although Chris is continuing to joke about the situation, he did eventually make his Twitter account private the other day when the haters just would not stop. However, a ton of people have actually been speculating that this was in an attempt to try to hide a bunch of old controversial tweets from Chris that have been resurfacing. But what's even crazier is that people have been blaming what they call the quote-unquote Carl effect for influencing Chris's transition, and Chris actually spoke about this, once again keeping the situation lighthearted and joking, saying, quote, "It is his fault. I saw his nails and suddenly my masculinity started to wither away. I instantly hated all my boy toys and Happy Meals and only wanted girl toys. Real talk." And although this is a pretty obvious joke, people still blame the Carl effect and are basically saying that Chris doesn't want to admit that Carl influenced him so that Carl doesn't receive any backlash. But this wouldn't be the only thing that people are saying links Carl to Chris, as Chris actually posted that Carl has been, quote, "extremely supportive of course, but it really seems like the internet is looking too deep into it." On the complete opposite hand, famous YouTuber Steve Will Do It actually spoke about the situation publicly and has a crazy theory. He claims that he doesn't actually think that Carl influenced Chris's transition, but instead that MrBeast himself encouraged one of the group members to come out for the success of the channel.
MrBeast, the guy Chris. My theory is that like someone had to do it, whether it be Chandler or Chris.
Now, despite this being really unlikely, even if it was intentional, it hasn't gone as expected, as it's received a ton of backlash. Many are actually speculating that the hate could possibly lead to Chris getting kicked from the MrBeast channel, as no matter what has happened, everyone on the team is still getting a ton of hate, with this clip of Chandler going around on the internet looking fed up. This whole situation seems to be blown completely out of proportion by internet trolls, and I think that Chris should just be left alone. But if you still support MrBeast,